Hello guys, so I was asked to do a review on Damien. He's a dark striker and he's new gen and he doesn't currently have an EE. So be aware that when he receives his EE, this guide might need to be changed, so just want to point that out. So let's get started. He's one of the brand new dark strikers and has a bunch of original skills. He's currently not bad, but will get much better with an EE. As we saw already, from his regular to his Evo, he got really good, and every single one of his skills could become much more powerful with just a single level up. So let's get started. I can't show you his Evo skills, but I have them open next to me so I can actually tell you what they are. So for the very first one, it's actually going to be increase attack power by 120% and penetration by 25%. So the first thing is, penetration is actually a pretty cool stat. On top of it, it's already built in the active. It's a bit better when it's in the passives, but it's really not that bad. The cool part about this is, especially since it's in a shot, you know it's going to be upgraded again. So you can already tell it's going to be attack power 140 and penetration 30 on when he's going to get an EE. So that's just a really decent skill. There's nothing I'm actually going to say against it. It isn't a utility skill. It does have a 12-minute cooldown. If the cooldown was 8 minutes, would have been epic, but it's still pretty nice. So that means that he's going to be more on the one-hit KO setup. So in that sense, you're going to have a passer, an active pass, an active shot, and then you come back 8 minutes later. Then he has a skill called Light Eraser. It's another one who's going to increase when he gets an Evo. Increase critical rate by 25%. Who's pretty nice, but it's still kind of low, and increase damage inflicted on light players by 25% with an attack. Now again, I want to point out that they don't say with a shot, so when you're trying to seal the ball, this can all be used. Increasing light damage by 25%, knowing that it's decreased by 25%, basically means that it cancels itself out. So Damien's just going to hit the light players as if they were any other element, who's basically cool, because that means he's never going to have a problem with any element. So that's kind of nice. Then we have Shadow Theft. So this is the one where we're not 100% clear on how it works. It doesn't seem to be a value, but more a percentage. So increase your attack power by 25% of the attack power of the enemy within the position with a shot. So it seems that it's going to be a 25% of the attack power, and then it's multiplied if they have an attack buff. But again, I don't own him, so I can't verify this. This is what people told me. Meaning if they got a 4-man back, or if they got any attack power buffs on the line, this will buff the skill. If it is a buff, for example, something like a Leah buff or something based on another stat, it might not actually buff it as much. It might not even activate on it. So it's a little bit more complicated on how it works. And again, we've asked BB to give us a clear explanation, but we don't have it currently. And then we have Dark Object, decrease incoming damage, increase critical rate when holding the ball. That's basically the skill that is cool, I'm going to say, but not the greatest. It just means that if he's holding the ball and they're trying to steal it from him, he's going to be a little bit cooler. The critical rate will activate when he is shooting, though. So that still is there. Now, the thing you want to notice is that Shadow Theft is actually going to push you towards using some players you would never use. And when I'm saying this, I am actually going to advise using one of the worst players in game in a Damien line who would actually make sense. You're going to be asking me, who the hell am I talking about? Well, I'm actually going to be talking about the one player that every single one of us has trashed an infinite amount of time. I'm just trying to find him for this to have a bigger impact. And of course, I must have skipped him because no one ever uses the guy. He is right here. Celis, for the first time ever, is going to actually have value because of Smirk. Because the defense is going to reduce co-op, and the attack power is going to increase your damage. So this might be the only time, and really the only time, when this could actually be cool. So I just wanted to point that out. Now, on a Spirit Stone level, he's pretty lucky. I do want to point out he doesn't have that much crit rate built in. So I would actually go for the very basic setup and/or critical damage, Wormwind penetration unique Dragon's Bone, and dark-wise, I'm gonna say it's gonna be a little bit more up to you, just to show you the stones. In the Wormwind, we're doing this because this one's really cool. Increase penetration power critical rate with an attack. But in case you don't like it, you could even actually go to something like Earth's Cry, because it's going to increase the attack power with each target. So it isn't even that bad. On the dark side, there isn't anything you want to run. And on the other side, there isn't anything either. So it's basically gonna be a very simple build between those two. I don't really think there's anything really different. It doesn't make sense running Pterodac's Blood on him if you want to go in the Andor slot, and the critical damage is much better. Now, as the last slot is gonna be dark and you've already run a critical stone, I would actually say just go for an extra penetration stone. There's nothing you can go wrong with more pen. Plus, it's gonna give counterattack resistance just in case they're trying to steal the ball. So there's not that many builds that make sense with him compared to most players. So this is really what I would say is the meta for him currently. His stones basically allow him to be perfect. That's going to mean that he's going to have 40% damage decrease, a penetration stone, a unique that penetrates, some distant penetration on the shot. So that means he's really going to be hitting like a truck. Penetration is great. He's going to still have some decent damage value, and if he crits, both damage stones, the critical stones, are going to increase his damage. Now, the one weakness he has is, again, he doesn't have an extreme evolution, so we're waiting to see what they're going to buff, but just the stat buff is going to be pretty cool. Now, on an affection chain level, so first of all, on a COD, he has like the best COD players you know. There's Valkia, there's Amy, and two or 3 star, not worth mentioning. Dale, again, Mono Dark, really great. Rivalry, there's Jeet, Malcolm, Vitos, and Geralt here. I'm going to say you can at least have one of those on your team just to make him a bit faster, give him reflex and crit rate. It's just a good idea. And on the Nemesis chain, you got basically both light goalkeepers. So this is Kay and Isilla. So really, when he's facing a light team, when you combine that with his other light eraser, he actually is decently buffed on a light team. So it's pretty cool, I would say. Should you be using him currently? I would say you can start building him, but the EE is really going to define if he's great. He's decent, but there's nothing yet that's going to put him different from the pack. And in the current meta, you're actually more, again, aiming at the 2 Wormwind players. Now, on what team would I use him in? There's a bunch of players that are going to work really cool with him. So the first thing you want to notice is he's going to need to attack fast, and he's going to need people to have attack buffs. So you can't use any players that are going to lower the attack power. So that's actually something that you're going to be looking out for. Lowering the attack power on the enemy team causes you problems. Meaning, for example, one of my favorite players, Lilith, cannot actually be used because of Dazzlement, because she's going to reduce attack power. So anything that reduces attack power is actually counterproductive. You do want some high pass effect in the front line, so having something like a Balteon is great. But if you don't have a Balteon, there's nothing wrong with that. I would say going for someone like a Shura would be really great. Anything that can increase his critical chance, because he is going to have a little bit of a tough time critting. And then you would throw a second crit buff. Again, I'm just looking at the dark ones because those are the ones you're usually going to throw him in. He has a better synergy in a dark team, as always. So Black Daisy would also be great. Increase critical damage, increase reflex crit rate, and she's going to increase spirit. I'm also going to say she's pretty cool. And if you really want to go funky, I mean, you could even throw an Alice in there for him to shoot more often. You could throw a Celestia. You could throw, I know some people do that. You could throw a Marianne. You could even throw a Kiki. There's a lot of options you could do. You just want to be very careful not to debuff attack power and to try to buff him the best you can and give him some critical rate just to be sure that he really uses that boost of critical damage. Now, on the substats of his stones, I would actually say just go for penetration. Like this, you can try to reach at 100%, and basically damage reduction isn't going to work on you. And like this, in case you don't crit, you're still doing a lot of damage. I know he's a new player, so there might be some things that I didn't mention that are important. I don't think there's that many. Yeah, that's basically it. And he does have an interesting ace. Increase the hype of dark players and increase the inflicted damage to Andor players. Now again, they didn't say and increase the damage that dark players do inflicted to Andor players. So that does seem kind of cool. I'm not 100% sure if it works like the Vanchi skill, but it means in case he's facing Andor, you could even destroy them even more. I just want to point out Dark has invental advantage against Andor. On a skin level, I would say the second skill just looks really cool. I don't know who drew this, but kudos to them. So if you have any questions, write in the comments. If you want any requests, ask them, but I have a lot that I'm currently doing, so it might take a little bit longer. Have a good day, guys.